Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a motherfucking smack addict. Bye up, bye up. And in Menudo style in a direct fashion, we're going to get straight into the content of the day. But before we do, let's hit that notification bell. Ding! Put it on everything. So that way your notifications are on and you can come this way right here to the gun. So you can hear some of that knowledge that you can't get in college. And I greatly appreciate all the support. Thank you guys so much. You already know what it is. So let's talk JD DeLay's crew, right? Let's talk about the Irish Pride prison gang in Oregon, in the state of Oregon. Okay, I did time out there. I was in state prison, and I can tell you guys right off the top, man, they're not deep, but don't no one quite fuck with them. Them Irish boys are different, brother. All right? They're woods, but they're Irish woods. You know, you got, I guess, according to what their philosophies are, you have to show some heritage. You got to be a ginger, pretty much, man. You got to be Irish. You got to go be able to trace your lineage back to Irish Pride or to Irish to be part of that group or that gang, man. And they definitely pose a threat in and within the system in Oregon right now. Let me tell you about the Oregon system. And you guys all know the content creator, JD DeLay. He's hype. Man, I love JD DeLay. His content, bar none, is some of the best content on YouTube. Go tap in, go support him, man. He came up on my radar about a year ago and just blew up, took over the whole prison genre scene. I fucked with him. I actually sat down with him, did an interview, man. And I can tell you that's a solid individual right there. Everything that he showed me, and I base my assumptions and what I think about a person upon my interactions with them. And I can say he's been nothing but a blessing and cool with me. And I have nothing bad to say about this guy. But he comes from a gang, or was a part of a group called Irish Pride. Now, I know he left in good standings within that gang, man. And I'm sure he's still one of the fellas according to them. But I must say, man, shout outs and respects to JD DeLay, because this story does involve his gang, his group, his crew. Okay? Now, doing time in the Oregon system is a little bit different. I'll tell you this, man. That system isn't like the California system or any other system. That system is like one big old fucking SNY yard waiting to get fucked. It's different. Okay? You have everybody who runs on that yard. You have anywhere from prison gangs, from Sureños and Southsiders to Northerners. Not very many Northerners, but there are some. To Bulldogs, to brothers, to brothers, right? To blacks and Mexicans and paisas and everything on the in-between. Now, a lot of the gangs are homegrown. You have the white groups like European Kindred, IPS, The Brood, Irish Pride. A lot of these are homegrown gangs, and they don't care for other groups or other gangs from out of state coming in and trying to take over shit. They respect it, but they're not going to bow down to any type of character. Now, there are some guys that come from out of state that really hold water, really push weight. And a lot of these guys will either take them in and adapt to them, or become and have an understanding that, man, that this is their state, this is the way it's ran. But you're going to be allowed and embraced because you're a white man or a black man or whatever. You know, when it comes to the North and South issues, nothing changes. The end of hostilities is not there. When I was there, it was on like Donkey Kong. In fact, it was on site. And there was a lot more Southerners, just like there always is, than Northerners. And it was rough. It was rough, but it was what it was. Now, when it comes to the woods, the whites, they don't necessarily claim Peckerwood. They're not all together, but they're all white, if you understand. But you have different groups like Irish Pride. They run their side of the yard. They do what they do. They're involved in what they're involved in. And they do their thing. They're not to be stepped on. They're probably the smallest group on the yard, but they're one of the most dangerous. Now, I wanted to tell this story, and I use JD DeLay as a backdrop and, of course, as the thumbnail, because this is the gang that he was from. Even though he wasn't there this particular time, I never ran into JD DeLay. Maybe I did. Or maybe we were in the system at the same time, but we just never seen each other in passing. It just is what it was. But we've all heard of the group, the Nazi Lowriders. Now, if you've been out of the state of California in the system, man, the NLRs at one point in time were probably the most dangerous white group at the time on the yards. Ultimately, they got took off the yards by other woods and by the administration. They all got validated. They all got slammed back in the shoe. And there was a lot of disruption going on with them and one of the big four, the white organization. They weren't seen eye to eye. And pretty much the Nazi lowriders were snatched up off everybody's radar, and they were not to walk the main lines by that white group nor administration. And I remember when it came to the Norteño movement, they were a dangerous group, the Nazi lowriders. So we were always told, man, look out for any NLR tattoos. If you could identify a sleeper or someone that's on the yard wiggling and he has his tattoos, get off on him quick, because these guys were dangerous. Now, I've seen a couple incidences with the Nazi lowriders move on people. I was privy to seeing him in the hole get off in Susanville in the hole. And I've told stories about that. But this story is about out of state, the Oregon system. Now, the system is different because Chiruhus, Chomos, all these different types of people are on the yard. There's no, and I know you say, well, you're a product of who you fucking flock with. Who says anyone's flocking with them? You can't stop it. The Oregon system has an abundance of these type of characters, man. In fact, people with bad cases are probably deeper than people with good cases. And there's really nothing you could do about it, man. If you sat there and you try to take flight on every chomo every day, one thing, you'll never get out. And two, you're always going to get locked up in the hole and they're going to come right back out to the yard. So they run rampant on the system, but that doesn't mean that they're not being extorted. That doesn't mean that they're not getting smashed on. That doesn't mean that they're not sitting in the middle of fucking day room playing Dungeons and Dragons, scared to get up because if they do a solid white man or a Norteño or Southsider will crack their mask. It happens all the time. The brothers are a little bit indifferent to it. They don't care, man. They already have an understanding that the Chomos and all these guys are going to be on the yard, so they kind of just clean their hands of them, and it is what it is. But when it comes to the north, south, and the woods, the whites, brother, and even the paisas to some degree, man, they're not going to fucking adhere to what the fucking weirdos got going on. They're not going to adapt. So these whites, especially in the state of Oregon, be going hard in the paint on the weirdos. But most of the time, it's just extorting them, using them for things, making them fucking be torpedoes and missiles. Other than the difference between the state of California is it's very serious. These guys would be killed on the yard. Period, point blank. No questions asked. They're not going to sit there and argue over who's going to do it. Someone's going to raise their hand and do it immediately, right? But with these guys, it's kind of more so, what can we get out of them? Let's bleed them and soak them dry and make them do himself in. That's the mentality in Oregon. That's what happens all the time. Now, with the Irish Pride, man, they're a group that's known for this. They're a group that's known for getting their hands in the pockets of a chomo and ripping them pockets down, which pretty much falls back on what JD DeLay does, man. You know, he's strictly against these pedos and all these weirdos. And that's a mindset that not only comes from a good, solid person with a great way of thinking, but also a person that functions that way. His gang functions that way. He knows what it is. So anyways, this is something a little bit different. I just wanted to give you the back history on the state prison and how it goes. I was in a prison called OSP, the Oregon State Penitentiary. It's one of the oldest penitentiaries on the West Coast, right? Up there with San Quentin and Old Folsom. And these are penitentiaries. These aren't just prisons or facilities or correction facilities or treatment centers. These are actual prisons, pintas. Big walls around them. I mean, big towers. It looks like a movie, okay? Real life. And OSP is one of the older ones. In fact, it dates back so old that when people used to parole back in the 1800s, they'd give them a horse, a pan to go pan for gold and kick their ass up out the door and give them the revolver back. That's how long this motherfucking prison's been around. Billy the Kid is rumored to have showed up one time. Said, oh, hell nah, there's too many chomos on this yard, and left, right? So it's like that. So a guy comes one time to the yard. And this was about the time of the concert. They call it the Great Concert. It was a rap concert where North and South had probably one of the bigger riots that they ever had in the system up until that point, right? And I remember we were on the yard. There was a few homies, and we're kind of just like, you know, bidding our time, man. We knew the Southerners were feeling some type of way. They were letting us accumulate numbers, and that was that. And I remember I was in and out of the hole for whatever I was in and out of the hole for, a whole bunch of different types of shenanigans. And the administration there, the COs always kept their eyes on us because they knew that we were ready to move whenever we had to get our move on, right? I mean, the Southerners weren't really tripping, but they were lightweight. It was more Southerners that would come from California that would influence and indoctrinate these guys and let them know, like, hey, we can't be having these guys on the yarda. But up until that point, it was pretty respectful. It wasn't really nothing cracking. It wasn't like California and into hostilities where everyone's fucking eating together and having days of unity. It was nothing like that. It was more so, we got our little part on the yard. You guys stay over there. We stay over there. Everything is everything. Of course, it was like maybe 6 or 7 of us and maybe like 150, 200 Southerners. So you can understand that every day we were sweating to the oldies. Facts. But we were there and our flag was firmly planted. So we were kind of on lookout. And so this big old wood gets there. Right off the top, I know he's from California. You can see the swag of California, the tattoo work, the way he identifies, the way he's walking. And I see a little NLR right over his ear on the side. And I say, oh shit. Now, a lot of the homies I was with right there had been locked up since the early 90s. There was a couple of them that were in for murder. They had been locked up since like 92, 93. There was a couple other that were just actually from Oregon or Washington that really didn't know California politics. And I was trying to lace people up like, hey, this is what it is. This is how it is. I was trying to teach them Nawa and just little things I was trying to do. And so I tell one of the homeboys, hey, that dude's a threat. He said, what do you mean? That's not a South Side, that's a white. Let the whites deal with them. I said, nah, but in California prison systems, we don't allow these guys to walk on the yard with us. They don't allow us to be on the yard with them. Like, you don't understand, Holmes. He was like, well, this ain't there, bro. Let the fucking whites do what they're going to do. It is what it is. So I said, yeah, you're right. So I always kept my eye on this guy. I made it a point to watch wherever the fuck he was on the yard because he was an NLR, I thought. So he gets there, and of course, he starts adapting to the woods. He starts kicking it with the group called EK, European Kindred, right? Now, this group was a little bit different than the others, and at this time, they were recruiting. They had a lot of numbers. They were deep, I remember. And they more so, you had to trace your lineage back all the way pure European. They would get these shields tattooed on the back of their calves. Like, everybody knew who they were. They had some big, heavy hitters there. And they were known for taking people's shit. They'll take your whole donut, brother, right? They were known for extorting the shit out of people. And I was cool with one of them. One of the shot callers, the main ones that was there, Big Sean was my boy. He was a ginger too. We were cool. I would chop it up with him. We worked together, man. He was just a good person. And savage, right? We ended up going to a couple different places. And then when I got out, I ended up getting out and running into him on the streets. And he was doing dirt bad. I helped him out. He got me hooked up with a job. It was just like, it was cool. We helped each other out. He was good people. But anyways, I see this fucking junta they're having. Now in California, you know, we call them juntas. Basically a meeting, right? And there's a whole bunch of woods over there. And I see the Irish Prides over there. Now the Irish Prides were cool with the EK, but they were two separate groups, meaning they had their own different politics. They were all white. And if it became a white thing, brother, then it was a fucking meth and a white thing, right? But 99% of the time, if the Irish Pride had something going on, they would do their thing. And then, of course, if you had the EK, and I'm not going to lie, the EK were more like biker status type things. They were like more like, they reminded me of California. They were like woods, brother. Whereas the Irish Pride, they had a lot of youngsters. They were sick with it. They had some hitters. Right? But they all were strictly to their own. Like, they kicked it with their own. They were cool with, like, the Brood and other white gangs. But when it came to their little politics, they were just a little bit different than others. Their shit more surrounded their beliefs and their ethnicity. Okay, that's how you say it, bozo. Ethnicity. Right? And so that was that. So anyways, this dude he's getting into with the EK dude, right? And up until this point, that big old Nazi lowrider guy had been having it his way. He got right in. He was starting to get into the pockets of chomos. And that's right when I knew something was fishy with him. When I seen him just kick back, I thought of one or two things. Either this dude's a rat from out of state and he's just trying to hide out from some fucking shit that he did back home. Or this dude's a fraud, because no Nazi lowrider, they're sick with it. They would not go to a yard and function like that if they're from the state of California. Now me, state of California, I knew better. But again, I was with the homies just trying to skate by, right? Should I have been on them yard with all them? I mean, I couldn't stop it. I go where they send me. I established with the homeboy. We needed numbers. But there was plenty of times, you know what I mean, that I cracked the fucking chomo in his mouth. That's the truth. I could tell. I told you guys stories about a few of them, right? So anyways, I know these fucking crazy ass Nazi lowriders. I know what they're capable of and what they're about. Ones that I've been around. And I'm like, something ain't right with this guy to just come and just be kicking it like that. Well, he's in a cell, right? OSP's old school penitentiary. There's a cell right next to him where there's two weirdos, J-Cat. They're next to him. I remember they painted all day on the yard. And right down the tier was the dude, the happy face killer. I remember big Keith Jesperson, his name was. He was a big old tall white dude, right? He had some weird charges. And it was just crazy. It was a crazy tier, brother, right? No one fucked with that dude, the happy face killer. I guess they didn't want to get a smiley on their face. So he was left alone for the most part. Plus he was a big old dude that'd choke a person and throw him over the tier. But I remember this NLR dude was next door to these two dudes, and I would see him out there talking to him. They'd be giving him coffee. And I thought, all right, he's trying to fucking bamboozle them and use them, whatever. This is a different state. It's none of my business, really. I'm not going to go up to him like, hey, brother, get him when I'm right there, right? But I'm looking at him kind of like, what's happening, right? So anyways, trip out. This dude, right, starts like befriending those dudes and actually sells up with one of them. One of them paroles. God forbid his fucking next victim, but he paroles, right? And this dude goes in the cell with them. And I remember I tell one of the dudes from EK, my homeboy, I'm like, hey, bro, I see that NLR dude fucking with you guys, right? I said, you know what NLR is? He goes, yeah, bro, I know what they are and shit. They're heavy hitters out of California. Yeah, this dude says he's this and that. I said, bro, he set up with one of them things. He goes, oh, yeah, he says he's fucking going to work him. He's got this hustle and money. I said, yeah, bro, but I'm not white and shit. It's not my place, but that's wild, bro. He goes, yeah, we're that's why we're not seeing eye to eye right now. So this is what that meeting was about. They were telling me, hey, bro, you got to get the fuck out of that cell or kill that dude. You got to do something, bro. But you're over here trying to give us the game and tell us you're this heavy hitter from California and everyone's in awe of you, bringing you out sopas, and at the same time, you're over there fucking giving the dude a reach around. What's going on? Well, I'm going to tell you what was going on. The dude was an imposter. So this other little dude from Irish Pride comes in, right? And he knows this guy from the streets. And he's like, bro, that fool ain't from California. That fool ain't no NLR. That fool's from fucking somewhere out in Pendleton, Oregon. That fool's from fucking Eastern Oregon. Like, he's not that. I know his whole family. I can tell you that motherfucker, he rides bulls and shit. Like, he's not that. And so now that's involved Irish Pride. Because, see, up until this point, they were doing their own thing. That dude wasn't really fucking with them. They weren't fucking with him. He wasn't Irish, right? He was fucking Austrian or whatever he was. So when that little dude comes, he tells his people feel that it's necessary to address it. So they tell the EKs, so the EKs jam that dude up like, hey, bro, you know what I mean? You're front, you're not from this. And I said, aha, I knew it. I tell the homie. Now, the system, everybody talks. It's not like the type of system in California where you're on that side of the yard where it's all racial and shit. It's not like that. I mean, there is racial shit. Everyone sticks to their own, but it's not surprising to see a couple white dudes playing basketball with black dudes. If anyone from the state of Oregon tells you that I'm lying, they're full of shit. It's like a big S&Y yard. Everyone's together, but you know, when it becomes a problem, then it's a problem. But there are some super woods that do stick together, and you know, I don't like them black men and them Mexicans. There are those. Those are like the skinheads more. But a regular white guy that come, I've seen there's white Crips, West Side G's, West Side Mafia, North Side families. I've seen all these different gangs where white dudes are actually allowed and permitted to go into prison. They don't have to play the wood card. They don't have to be a good old wood, brother. They can go in there and be a cuz, right? I've seen it. So it's a little different. It's a little bit of everything. And you'll trip because these West Side G's will fucking ride with these white groups. I couldn't explain it to you if I tried. So anyways, the Irish Pride, they get involved. And that dude's telling them like, hey, I fucking know you, fool. And he tells them on the yard. Well, this dude takes a swing on the Irish Pride dude, and this other big Irish Pride cracks the dude, the NLR dude. So they go to the hole. So there, in that system, when you have a fight with a mutual combat, you get 120 days or 180 days in the hole, right? If it's a unilateral assault, meaning you fucking assault someone, that person will probably get transferred or come out of the hole, and you do the 180. So it's like 4 months to 6 months right off the top. A fight is basically a 180. Cancel Christmas. You're going to go to the hole for 180 days. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. Unless you use a weapon or something more crazy, then blood is drawn. It's all bad. Then you're going to catch another case. DA referral, right? So both these guys have a mutual combat and they both go to the hole. So now the fucking NLR is gone. He's gone for a while, right? And now the word is when he gets out of the hole, people are going to take off on him. They're going to get off on him. And the EKs are like, hey, we're going to do this. We got this. He was kicking. He tricked us. Fuck this dude, right? Now, the fucking Irish Prides are feeling some type of way because their homeboy went to the hole behind this guy, right? So they're like, nah, we're going to deal with it. So it's kind of like whoever gets him first, whatever building he goes to, whoever sees him first, handle your business. Ooh, wee. Well, let's just say Irish Pride, they're no joke. That's why I give JD DeLay respect, man, because he comes from I could sympathize with what he talks about. Coming from a smaller gang or a smaller group, which the Norteños are deeper, I would say, in the whole grand scheme of things. The Irish Pride are just small gangs in the Oregon system, right? But they always have like maybe 10, 15 on the yard, if that, maybe 3 or 4. Whereas in California, you know, Northerners are like 7, 8, maybe 10, 20 on a yard too. It's just, I could identify, right? Man, but they're no jokey joke, man. Very structured, very about the business. Well, this guy comes out of the hole. And everyone knows the date because it's basically 6 months from the day that you go to the hole. So everyone's waiting that day. You could tell on the yard, like everybody knows. And I'm sure they dropped a gang of kites because that's what happens in the Oregon system. Motherfucking the cops knew, the warden knew, fucking CBS News knew, Donald Trump knew. Everybody knew something was going to happen, right? And it happened. You can't stop it. That's one thing about prison. Everyone in the world can know what's going to happen and it's still going to happen. The only way it's not going to happen is if they actually literally went to that dude's cell, removed him out of the cell, told him you're not going to be here no more. Then, and only then, will shit not happen. It went down this day. So this dude comes out and what they do is they have your property. So they had bagged all your shit up in these big plastic bags. They keep it in a program office or wherever they keep it until the time your food be all stale and shit. Hey, I hated when you fucking get a fat canteen and then you get off, right? On canteen day. and you go fucking to the hole for 6 months and all your crackers and all your fucking chips are stale. It sucks, right? You're eating a soup like, you're trying to fucking change, thinking that if you breathe in, it's going to change the flavor. I've been through it, right? So anyways, this fool gets out. He's probably thinking on the tier, damn, man. And these two Irish pride dudes, one of that little dude, the one that put him on blast, he got out the hole too. He got out the hole right in the morning before him. They separated him. So one got out in the morning, the other one got out in the afternoon. It just happened to be the Irish pride dude who got out in the morning, right? Trip out on this, right? So he gets out. This dude gets out. Bro, it wasn't but 1:30 by the time they blasted this dude's whole shit open. Boom, boom, boom. And now it's a trip because you don't see too many stabbings in that system. Like, it's rare. Like, it happens. I've seen motherfucker get the whole asshole dug out, right? It happens. But it's not like California where a motherfucker gets hit and then, hey, can I get my package? Right after. It's not like that, man. They put the whole institution on lockdown for a few days. It was all crazy, right? But they gave that dude the business, man. And it was for being an imposter, a fake. But not even more so than that. He was really like trying to fucking fraternize with the weirdos and all that shit. So I have seen dudes get to other systems, try to play the role. It doesn't usually work out for you. You can only skate by for so long. Your actions will speak louder than words. And there's always going to be someone, always, doesn't matter where you go, what you do, there's always going to be someone who knows you. And they're going to be like, yeah, I know you, bro. And that was it, man. And the dude was like, this motherfucker was out there milking cows. He wasn't over there in prison stabbing people. Because this dude is like, I just did 20-something years in California system. Nazi lowriders control everything. And then when I had heard that someone repeat that story, I said, he's bullshit. Hell no. Oh, hell no. I said, they're all slammed down, validated, bro. This fool was talking about he was on the main lines running around like they're not there. That is not true. Anyone who's been in the California system knows the Nazi lowriders have been slammed in the back for a long time. Now and only now, maybe they're allowed to walk the ark because of the end of hostilities, but I don't know if the fucking white organization is even going to allow that, to be truthfully, right? That's the truth. Anyways, story, man, JD Delay's crew got off, man. He wasn't there, but I'm sure if he was, he would have been the big old thug white gorilla doing it. It's just the truth. If I'm lying, JD, about the whole way the system is, you let him know. Tell him that's the way it is, man, because it's the truth. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle for what I truly believe in, and that's telling the truth and the betterment of all people, man. Thank you. The gun.